So one of the things that's interesting with food right now, when I talk to clients and colleagues, is that we don't have access to our usual stuff. So I want to talk for a second about creativity in that regard. With schedules change and food resources being different, how can athletes get creative about eating well?
One thing that has not been too affected by the supply chain is actually protein powders. That can be a very easy way, not just to make protein shakes, but you can add protein powder to things like healthy pancake recipes. That can be an ingredient that you can use, for example, in making muffins. Again, muffins that are more healthy for you, but you can incorporate protein that way. That's number one. The other thing is that there's this idea that protein equals meat and carbohydrates equals bread. But the reality is that a lot of foods are a combination. So you take something like beans. Beans they do have carbohydrate, but beans are very high in fiber, which is key because when you have a high fiber carbohydrate, it gets digested and absorbed much more slowly. So it's much better for your blood sugar. It's also great for your digestion, but also beans have a high amount of protein. Even things like oatmeal, when you buy steel cut oats, a cup of steel cut oats will give you about 5 or 6 grams of protein. So it's not a matter of thinking that a nutrient is only found in one kind of food. And then I think it's also important when thinking about carbohydrates. A lot of people might think just about whole wheat pasta and whole wheat bread. But when it comes to grains, I recommend things like oats and buckwheat and millet, which if some of these are ingredients that are new to you, the great thing about online, you can search on YouTube for a healthy recipe for whatever ingredient you have, and you get now really good recipes. All sorts of legumes, not just beans, but lentils are fantastic. Lentils, again, very high in protein, very low in saturated fat, super high in fiber, very, very high in iron. Iron is a very important nutrient as well. So beans and legumes are an important thing.
And that makes perfect sense. And I think what I hear you saying is, but get out of the box a little bit.
In the same way that meat is really just protein, then you have the other end of the spectrum where things like candy is just carbohydrate. So those are like the extreme ends of the spectrum. But then in between, you have a lot of the foods that offer you, even things like nuts and seeds, which have healthy fats and a good amount of protein. And that's one reason why, almonds or peanuts or walnuts are so great, because it is exactly that combination of fat, protein, and fiber that are really good for blood sugar regulation and for satiety, so that you don't get hungry 20 minutes later.
Okay, perfect. Because that will trend out to be a little more balanced in terms of your carbs aren't only coming from bread and your protein isn't only coming from meat. You can choose beans, you can choose lentils, you can choose grains like buckwheat, millet, quinoa. You can use protein powders, and all of that will give you a more balanced nutrient profile, like for that food. And you may even need to eat less of it because of that.
Exactly.
Let's build a couple examples maybe here. So I'll shoot out something very basic that somebody might normally eat, and I want you to dress it up with some of these creative ingredients that would beef up your nutrient profile so you get a better balance of, protein, carbs, and fat. How's that?
Sure. Yeah.